Do you have a strategy of getting into his head?
It's not going to be a gentleman's game. It's going to be a full-on attack, baby. It's going to be screaming, yelling, overbetting, slow rolling, needling. It's going to be all of it. And I'm going to try to break him down mentally, emotionally, every way.
What's up, everyone? Today I've got a friend of mine who's also happened to totally humiliate me and win a huge pot off me and call me his bitch. I don't know a whole lot about him, actually, about like his history and stuff. I know he's married, which surprises me a little bit. Pretty, what's the word, ostentatious. We're going into the mind of Nik Airball. He's been firing lots of shots. He's been firing shots at Berkey. He's actually was just playing Berkey, Matt Berkey, just a moment ago, and now he's taken some time to do this podcast. Thank you, Nick, for your time. How's the match going with Matt Berkey?
So we haven't started the match yet. We're starting this Saturday, but I'm in Vegas a couple days early, and so they invited me to play like a 100 game in Bobby's room. So I was like, sure. So I show up this morning, sit down, and look who walks in. Matt Berkey, same game. And we draw seats. He draws the seat right to my right. So we've already started the fun. I've been getting the chance to, have a little fun with him, and I'm excited to start the match on Saturday and him up.
So is he playing great? How are you talking lots of smack? Like what's going on? Like I would think I'm a little surprised. Now there's like 100K extra in the mix. It sounds like.
So no, there's not, because he didn't want to play at the lodge. So there's no free roll from Doug. Yeah, he's too scared to go to the lodge. But yes, I have been talking some shit. I've been very disappointed with his play. He's played like a total bitch. Like he buys in like 20K, loses like 5K, tops up to 20K, loses 4K, tops up. It's like, dude, put on 100K. Let's play some cards. Like, it's just disappointing, Jungle. It's just disappointing.
This is a little disappointing. But is he not going to play this 200-400 challenge? I thought he was.
No, we're playing. We're starting on Saturday.
Okay, yeah. I was confused for a second because it just seems strange. Okay, I'm a little surprised he doesn't want to go to the lodge for 300K or 350K or whatever it is, 330K or whatever his chances are. Do you have a strategy of getting into his head, or is it just going to be a gentleman's game?
It's not going to be a gentleman's game. It's going to be a full-on attack, baby. It's going to be screaming, yelling, overbetting, slow rolling, needling. It's going to be all of it. And I'm going to try to break him down mentally, emotionally, every way.
All right, good. I normally don't particularly agree with attacking people's credibility on being a training site leader, but I do want to see all the needling and it seems more acceptable in a poker game when like kind of anything goes. There's no like rules against like hurting someone's feelings.
Yeah.
As I discovered. Why don't we talk a little bit about that? I had a funny perspective on that. Like thinking about it, there's no like rule against not trash talking or not like doing things to get in someone's head. I think a lot of people look at that incident and say that you were an asshole and say that I was classless. What are your thoughts on all of that? Why do you do what you do, Nick?
First of all, like, we're on a stream. Like, we're here to entertain, Like, I don't think anyone wants to see us, like, sit here with our arms on our shoulders, like, covering our faces and, just, like, grinding. Like, it's not entertaining for the people. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, like, yeah, the trash talk, all that stuff, it's, like, part of my game. Like, I think it gives me an edge because I think I can get under people's skins and they play worse, and I'm able to kind of figure out how they feel in different spots and use that to my advantage. And generally speaking, like, needles and shit, like, just don't bother me because, I don't know, poker's just like a game to me, and I think it's fun to make it, like, competitive, and I think shit talking and all that's fun, and I think it's within the spirit of the game, and it upsets some people, but I just don't care. And also, like, with you, like, we're friends, and, like, I know you know that, like, I'm not being malicious to you. Like, it's out of love. Like, I feel comfortable with you, you're my friend, and, like, if anyone ever said anything bad about you, like, I would 100% defend you and, like, to the grave. But when we're playing poker and we're battling, like it's anything goes, and like I can call you my bitch, I can scream at you, like we can fight, you can do the same thing, like knock over my chips, like it's war, like we're battling for hundreds of thousands on stream. Like to me, like this is what it's about.
Actually, there are some things you do that are very unique. I was not expecting that, and I also was like given like information that proved to be totally wrong when playing against you, and this was just like really added to like the ultimate layer. All the stuff going on was just tilting out of my mind for to push the chips. But I still think I do remember trying to needle you, and it didn't work at all. Uh,
Yeah,
it's just like God damn it, and now I'm like now it's just like falling flat completely. And I'm thinking, well, I guess playing that game's not really working. But I'm sitting here thinking, well, if it's okay to trash talk, it's okay for me to like raise the ante a little bit and push the chips because
of
like
course.
yeah. Well, I'm
I,
glad that
I
huh?
I think that's great. Like I think that's great for TV, great for the game. I think it's funny. Like it bothers me 0%. Like I think it's fucking awesome that you did that. Like like I just couldn't. Like I think the whole thing was fucking amazing. Like I think it just was great, and it was great TV, and it was fun to be there, and it was just like I think it was cool.
All right. Well, I'm glad you agree with me. And also I mean, even though I was steaming out of my mind, I also like part of me thinks that yeah, like you said, it's good for TV. So I'm like in a weird way happy it happened. It's like better that it happened against my a friend of mine than against someone who's like out for my blood and like is actually like really obnoxious or whatever. It's actually a better situation. It's almost like it
Yeah,
yeah, that's what weird way that I rationalized it. Um but it's actually like an opportunity to see if I can handle it.
yeah.
So I thought it was an interesting situation to bring up just for these kinds of reasons, because from you can't stop someone from like talking trash or whatever. Really, I mean you kind of can, but a lot of time you can't do anything about all like the super tilting things that happen. But it's nice to have it happen and a fairly sort of safe environment. I just just lose like $50,000 or whatever, plus another 125 or whatever it was. Like who cares? It's not a big. Um, okay, so there's a couple other things. I and Twitter have been wondering what is your background because it definitely seems like you understand poker from what I can tell. Which I like wasn't 100% sure if you were like a businessman or like a pro. I thought you were like some kind of pro or like I don't know. I don't really like. I don't know if a pro is really the right word to describe you. Just that you knew about variance in poker somehow, which is rare when you're not a pro. I don't want to give you that label. What would
I don't
you?
care. Happy.
Artist, okay? You're a Picasso.
I, that's correct. I am an artist, and Nicasso sometimes is a pro and sometimes is a fish, and that's the beauty of my art. Is sometimes it's one thing and sometimes it's another.
All right, and the Indian Picasso of poker, Nicasso. There you go. So, like, how did you get into poker? I don't really understand. I did find some information of you on the internet. I found something about you talking about a mortgage. You looked like you. I think looked a little skinnier.
Oh yeah, probably
You-
like accounting class or something in college. Yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, how poker like my dad used to play poker when I was a kid, and so like I played a few times at like family game nights kind of thing. And
Uh huh.
then when I went to college in China, and like I think my first night there, me and like my three roommates or whatever just went downstairs and like found a deck of cards and just like started playing poker, just like for fun, for like very little money, like 20 cents or whatever, and we just like made a night of it, and we played the whole night, and like it was fun. And then like the next day, I was kind of like, huh. Like we all wanted to play again, and I was like, I kind of want to like learn a little bit more. Like I don't really know what I'm doing. And then like I started basically like watching the Live at the Bike stream, and that's kind of how I learned poker. Is just like watching that stream and playing a lot in China. Like never had like a coach or a training site subscription, or like I've never looked at a solver. I don't know how those things work. Like I'd never looked at opening ranges or any of that shit. Like I play like 100% just like on my own instinct and like what I've seen and now think is good. And like obviously by playing a lot and like watching a lot of poker, like I've kind of learned to understand some of like the theory of poker and like generally know like probably what's good in some spots and what's bad. But at the same time, like I have zero patience, and like I'd rather play a style that's like a lot more volatile and like allows me to play a lot more hands and is just like more fun, even if it's not like the most profitable. And so that's kind of what I do. So I try to play a style that I think like wins, while
Hmm.
also like allowing me to play like fun hands, crazy hands, and big pots.
Oh yeah, it's good for live games. Keeps it fun and interesting. I mostly try to do that unless I get like min bet, 3-bet for whatever on the river, then my mind kind of explodes. Uh,
The
for
goal.
90 something percent of the other decisions, well, ideally all decisions probably should go that way, especially when the game's like supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Um, there should be 15-second shot clocks, not 30-second shot clocks.
Yep.
I'm like dying even in these tournaments. Like they tank 30 seconds for every pre-flop decision. I'm just like I can't like.
People ask me all the time like why I don't play the high rollers or like tournaments, and it's literally just because of that. It just looks miserable. Like it just doesn't look fun, and I like to have a lot of fun when I play, and like high energy usually when I play and stuff. And like the tournaments, just like I feel like no one's there to reciprocate that and like help you have a good time and enjoy it. Like everyone's there just to like grind, and it just seems miserable. And so that's like the number one reason why I don't play any tournaments, because it just looks fucking miserable.
Yeah, it's a totally different environment on the stream cash games where Jack 4 offsuit is like 3-bet, and that's like now like a bounty hand. And then there's apparently maybe you learn to 5-bet Ace 3 offsuit for while being like 700k deep. Maybe that's like a play in Chinese. That could be like a good play in Chinese. If they call, they probably have like kings or some shit, right?
Yeah.
If you like 5-bet Ace 3 offsuit, you bet flop, bet turn. They have to have like minimum kings as an overpair.
Yeah.
And then I guess they'll fold it or fold aces if you shove on the river or some crazy thing. You maybe
I found that in live poker, when you're like 700k deep in a 200 400 game, like if you just keep piling money in pre-flop, like people just get pretty scared with all their hands except for aces. Like, like when you're playing 200 400, you don't want to put in 700,000 with kings pre-flop, or on the river with one pair. So that's something I found, and that's part of how I play is I have no problem putting all the money in and living with the result, even if it's a huge bluff. And I think like a lot of the time the people I'm playing are pretty scared to put the money in, and I just use that to my advantage, especially when they're like too deep.
no, that I found something like that to be true also, just by the way. But also to be fair, like 700k deep is what, like almost 2000 whatever, like 1800 big blinds deep. Typically you don't really want to get kings in for like 400 big blinds deep. I mean, you're not real happy about getting kings in
But
even for
in
that.
theory, if I'm 5-betting ace deuce offsuit for 155k, like 6-bet jamming kings is probably pretty good, right? Like it can't be bad, but they don't have the balls to do it, even knowing that I'm going to be way out of line. And like people just are so scared, like they're just never going to call off like a 700,000 without aces pre or like whatever. So like in those spots, like I just think it's just so like easy when you're playing that deep, because you can just bloat pots up and people just always have exactly a couple hands, and they're just going to fold them because they don't want to play like $1 million pots with one pair. I mean, who wants to get stacked for like 4,000 big blinds in like $1 million pot with one pair and look like an idiot?
Well, when the guy's like going on podcasts and bragging about how he could bluff off like 700k has definitely shown a few crazy hands, then most people will be okay. Well, I don't know, like there's still people who get very scared at all kinds of times.
No
um
one will adjust. No one ever can adjust.
all right, well, the guy with the one piece shirt, I think, or whatever that is.
That's right, baby. Luffy gets out.
It's very well. You're definitely wearing all your colors on your sleeves. Um, I still want to ask, like, did you make your money from poker? Do you want to say, or did you do something else? It looked like I mean, it definitely looked like you had a different trajectory for a while, and a different personality from the limited information I found of you on the internet.
Yeah, so I, out of school, worked in finance and investment banking up until last fall. when I left my job, and now I'm basically just doing nothing slash playing poker, making content, whatever you want to call that. But like to me right now, all I'm doing is just like whatever I want, whenever I want. And so like right
Mhm.
now, like, that involves a lot of poker, but I'm actually like trying to transition into some more like venture capital stuff and like some investments like that. So I mean, I don't even know what I label myself either. Like I play poker, I definitely play to win, but I also like the result really doesn't matter to me in any of these games. And like right now, I'm trying to transition to like more investment stuff and stuff like that that I'm finding more interesting. But in terms of how I made money, like combination of my job, of poker, of some other like public stock market investments, like when during COVID and stuff like that, and you know,
Mhm.
I've just like run really hot in some good spots, whether that be like my work in poker or in investing, and it's worked out for me. And so, now I'm very comfortable, and I also like to troll everyone with how I made the money and stuff, and I think it's funny and whatever. I also like I kind of tilt a little bit when people are constantly like, "How does this guy make money? How does your money? What's your money from?" I'm like, it's no one's business. Like, just be grateful that I exist. Like, without me, poker's so boring. Like, who else is buying in a million deep and putting everyone to the test every hand and screaming and challenging everyone to heads up? Like, just be grateful that I have the money and I'm willing to fire and I'm willing to entertain the whole world. Like it doesn't matter. You guys should all just grovel at my feet and beg me to stay. That's it. Like, and
Someone has to
it,
do it. To be fair.
it, yeah, like just be grateful that I exist. Like I feel like I've breathed life back into poker these last few
You
weeks,
do. You do.
and
You
that's
finally
that's it.
put some, you bring like tons of spice and all kinds of
Yeah,
all these boring nits.
that's
Not every,
exactly right. I'm just not interested in the boringness. Like I want to make art. Like I want to be creative and I want to entertain, and I don't care if I'm the villain or the hero in anyone's eyes. Like I am who I am, and the people who know me, and the people who watch can have their own opinions, and I just don't give a.
well, it's like way more fun to be the villain than to be like nothing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like this is I guess why like the bad boys get all the attention and all that, right? Like because like you have to have like some kind of balls or something to be like the villain, or you have to have like some kind of something
and
else.
like
Whereas there's all these boring mother.
yeah, and like to be honest, like growing up playing sports and stuff, like I always got off on being like the away team, and like everyone's cheering against you, and like you want to shut everyone up and like prove everyone wrong. And like, I kind of feel like that, and like with the poker stuff too. Like, it's fucking hilarious when everyone's tweeting like, "Someone stack Nick," like, "Someone bust this guy," like, "Bust him." Like, I think it's funny. Like, no one out there can stack me. No one out there can bust me. You're all too broke. You're all too scared. Like, and I think it's funny to like be the villain, and I just like entertains myself, and it also just gets me up for the game. Like when I'm like going to a game and I'm like I just don't feel anything or no one's excited. I'm not like that interested in going. But when I'm like going there and there's like people rooting against me and hating and wanting to see me get stacked, like I'm excited to bluff the shit out of their favorite player or stack their favorite player and like scream at him and send him on his bike. Like that's what I'm there for. I don't care about like winning at the end of the session or losing. Like I care about like the sick moments that we were able to create and like owning someone's face.
You're sounds like you're a true poker player. We need. I'm thinking you're giving me crazy ideas, and I mean you make a valid point. It's like much more fun. Like think about it, like the emotional swings of like if you're hated. There's no like downside if you're hated. It's like if you lose, you performed as expected or performed what people wanted, and like you get like. But if you win, it's just like this massive upside if you're hated.
Yeah,
uh and you can yeah, for you the underdog there's like massive upside. There's actually quite a bit of downside even if you're top dog or whatever. If you're Garrett, for example, like you can only like win and people just keep looking at you as good, and then the Robbi hand happens, and I'm going to get to that in a second because I have some unique thoughts on that. I think the Robbi hand was like a really interesting what do you say experience for a lot of different reasons. It really like enlightened me in some ways. But first, I'm thinking you're giving me ideas of like actually bringing like a bike, if it, or something similar like a tricycle. If if someone like loses, they've got to like ride the tricycle out of the casino room.
that would be amazing.
Or
like
to just
off,
get
off
hosed
the house
down.
circus, the live stage down that ramp.
This should happen. This is what the poker. This is what the poker world needs. Is more theatrics and
Of
like this is
course.
what the wrestling world all happened. Like people would talk so much shit and there's all this cheering. I never knew, but it's just so obvious. The poker shows don't really have that, or the tournaments absolutely don't have any of that stuff. And there's just so much potential because when you play at a poker room, you can kind of get away with anything. I've like can't come up with all sorts of stupid ideas. I was thinking I could bring like a wild animal to the poker room, apparently, like a cat or something. But yeah, I mean, we could have like, I mean, hypothetically, like throw like a cake at someone like Steve Aoki style, or what else? I mean, I'm a fan of that. If you want to throw a cake at my face, I'll take it. If I like get bluffed for like 50K, that can be like an option, like whatever. Or you get like a squirt gun and hose someone down, like whatever. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
I feel like I've been meeting all these people recently, like big content creators who are like new to poker and coming into poker, and like what's brought them to poker is like the fun, like the crazy like clips they've seen, like of these like crazy moments, and like that's what makes them exciting. It's not like, they're not watching the high rollers and like thinking about which combos are good 4-bet candidates and which combos are good 5. They're not thinking about any of that shit. They're just like, man, this is fun. Like these guys are drinking, they're gambling, they're laughing, like they're talking shit, like they're having a good time, and like that's what brings people into the game, and that's what continues to grow the game, and that's also like what's good for the game. And so I think like
yeah.
the thing that makes a good game isn't having like bad players in the game. The thing that makes a really good game, like a really good game, is when the winning players are also good for the game.
Well,
Because
I mean, go ahead, but I mean,
because
it's also the bad players, and the bad players
no,
matter a lot, dude.
I agree, but I think in order to build like a healthy, like in a good ecosystem where you can run games, and like you can't just have like a bunch of bad players with the winning players kill them, because then they're going to be gone soon. If you have like you have winning players who understand like, hey, this is like an ecosystem that has to like exist, and like you can't like take every spot to take every last dollar, and you can't like just be all about your bottom line. Like that's how you kill
Sure.
like an ecosystem of a poker game, and like that's something like I try to focus on is like as of someone who like has won or whatever, I want to always make sure that I'm giving back and like being good for the game, whether that be like voluntarily straddling or like lighting money on fire just in stupid spots, or calling off a couple like 20-30,000 pre just to gamble with someone or whatever, like just giving back to everyone just as like to make sure that they're having a good experience, and like it just keeps the game healthy and the ecosystem better than if you're in there just trying to like grind out every last dollar.
If you think about it, you're sounding a bit more like a hero than a villain in actuality, because like everyone, you're like hated apparently. You got a bunch of haters or people that want to stack you or whatever, but what you're doing is actually good for everyone. So you're doing what's good for everyone in spite of all the hate. This is more heroic than villainous, or maybe it's a bit of both, which is even more exciting actually.
I think the truth is I'm the hero the poker world needs. They just don't realize it. Like I'm out here breathing life into these streams, like bringing the viewership up, making it more mainstream, like bringing new people to the game. Like I people don't know how hard I work to like grow poker. Like last week I went to a 5-5 home game 3 times, 5-5, because there were some content creators there who I thought like are valuable to poker, and like they're getting into poker, and I want to like be there as they're experiencing poker for the first time and ensure they have a good experience, and like not just like punting money to them, but like making sure that they're learning and having fun and like just like comfortable. And I think like these things are very important, and like that's shit that like for example I do, because it's not like I think these guys are going to play 100, 200, 400, 800 or whatever with me. It's because I just think it's good for poker, and it's like it's going to bring more people to the like something that I love to do, and like make it bigger. And like I think like I think this is all good for poker.
Yeah, no, well, like you said, you can't just be about all the money all the time. Anyway, you have to like be a good person, or like be for. You have to be inspiring in a number of different ways, or be entertaining, or whatever. Also, like, yeah, I mean, what you're doing is actually much better for poker than all these pros that they study the theory and whatever. I mean, actually, if they could be educated in some kind of way. This is partly why I made this channel, by the way. Is I mean, a subset of what I want to do, or one of the things I want to do, is try to make poker more entertaining. And try to like get people to realize that's the same thought process that they've applied to poker theory, and they say, oh okay, I got a 4-bet, king jack suited at 12% of the time. All these like stupid minor edges where they're just going deeper and deeper in these dumb details that no one gives a about. That like will never matter. Will matter in like 30 years. When instead, if they focus on like becoming more fun and more people were just more fun, this would ultimately increase their quality of life and their bottom line in the future as well. If like everyone did that, if everyone was just more fun and more accommodating for people who want to come for the fun, this would be way better for poker than people like zeroing in on these minute strategies that are just like so like alien and like robot like to think about.
And like the other thing is too, like by not focusing on minute strategies, you actually and like focusing on being fun, you just like increase your win rate. Like you actually do, because like people who wouldn't give you action or wouldn't like do stuff will do it against you because now they want to give you action. Like the amount of times like I'm in like a game and I see a VIP like sitting next to me, show me his cards and fold, and it's like a hand that I know he would never fold to me. Like it's a piece of shit still, but like if I 3-bet him like 10x, he would still always call because he knows I'm in there just blasting off and giving him action, right? But then when someone else 3-bets him, he's just like, nah, this guy, like this guy's not giving me a chance. Like I'm not gonna give him any money. And so it's like, sure, yeah, your play is printing or whatever, but like, is it really that good if like now the VIP is not playing pots with you because he just doesn't want to like give you money? Like no, it's not that good. I'd rather play like a worse strategy and then have the bad players want to like play big pots with me because that's gonna make me more money. So like even like if you just look at it from like dollars, people just don't understand that you can't look at like your like EV or whatever like in like a specific spot. You have to look at the big picture, and like the big picture, like the way to grow your EV is not by playing really good in every spot and like studying poker. Like I think like I genuinely think like studying, like I've never studied poker. The first time I ever looked at ranges is for this heads up thing, like trying to figure out like what are ranges and like stuff like that. But like I just don't think it matters. Like everyone roughly knows how to play. The way to like be better than other people is like to like get action from people and be good for the game and find these kind of different ways that you can like earn yourself dollars without just like grinding out like playing a perfect big blind defense strategy or whatever. And that's to me is like what really like matters in poker, and that's kind of like what I focus on, which is why like I don't think studying matters. I don't think any of that shit matters. The only thing that matters is like your mental toughness and then like your ability to adapt.
I agree with you, particularly in live games, but all the money these days is kind of going to live games anyway.
Yeah. Online, obviously, you have to play good.
Yeah. Online, you know your big blind defense and all this dumb stuff. But yeah, live, more like social skills matter a lot, and there's so much like crossover to other areas too. And I do want to reemphasize, it's actually a very similar like kind of logic. It's just aimed in a different direction of like actually studying these minute details that people study to they in their head make this they do this pattern. It's I'm gonna do this, and it's something that's a little bit tough to do. I'm gonna use my discipline to do this, and now it's gonna make me a little bit more money, and this is the theory, right? But they could still take this and say, oh, I'm gonna use my discipline to like work on becoming a bit more fun, because this is there's a discipline aspect of there's a translation from like applying oneself to becoming more fun, and now it's gonna like help me in the long run be a bit just raise my quality of life, and eventually it'll make me more money and open up more doors for me. I just think people haven't like it hasn't like clicked in their head to do this, or they haven't seen that it can work, so that it's a bit challenging for many of these like pros that are so used to logic and shit.
I honestly think like I could take any like reasonable 5-5 player in the world and turn him into like a 200-400 crusher in less than a year. And really? I think like the way to do it really isn't teaching them that much strategy stuff. Like I mean some stuff, but it's really just about teaching them like how to get into good spots, and then like when you're in those good spots, how to take advantage of them. Like if you're playing 5-5 in like in a casino and it's just like a dusty game, but then all of a sudden you get the chance to play like 5-5 with like a VIP who's going to dust 50K or whatever, like that can make you like that can be what you need to like be in a 5-10 game, right? And then you play a good 5-10 game and the VIP dusts 100K, like okay, now you can be playing 10-20, and like before you know it, like in a few months, you just get into a couple good spots, you run good, you play like decent, like you also do the right things to get invited back, and you're playing huge stakes for huge amounts of money. And like, I just don't think it's that hard. It's just people like aren't willing to do things that are like directly like losing dollars in the moment to make dollars in the long run. Like people aren't willing to like call like a 3-bet in position with 7-5 offsuit and like justify by saying like this guy is like action and like we're deep enough and I'm just gonna play and give him action and like I think I'm good enough to make it work and also like it's gonna make him happy. Like people aren't willing to do that because they're like, well, calling 7-5 offsuit's a bad play. Well, it's not, because like that's how I get invited to the next game, and that's why the VIP then will like 3-bet me with 3-deuce offsuit because he's like, fuck you, like I'm gonna have too, like I'm gonna show you the dirty diaper. Like that's only happening when you're reciprocating these things. And like the reality is like people don't understand this, but like the businessmen in poker, like the big losing players or whatever, they're smart. They're smarter than all of us. These guys crush life. They crush the stock market. They crush business. Like these things are way harder to crush. Yeah, like these are way harder things to do than poker. Like poker's not that hard to get good at. Like it's just not. And these guys also understand like the dynamics of the game. Like they know they're losing. Like they're not stupid. Like they don't have like this fallacy that they're winning. Yeah, and they know.
Well, most of the time, right?
Most of the time, right, generalizing. And most of the time, I also think they know who's winning in the game. Like they know who's winning, who's losing. And so when they show up and they give access to certain players that don't, like they're choosing to lose money essentially to these players. Like whether it's conscious or subconscious, like they're choosing who they're losing to. And they're losing to the people who they want to lose to. Like that's just the truth. Like I played in so many games where, like on the stream, for example, like at Hustler, where afterwards a VIP will text me and be like, so mad that I gave it to this guy. I wish I would have given it to you or someone else, you know? And it's like, you never want to be the person that text is about. Like, you don't want someone texting and be like, I wish I hadn't given it to Jungle. I'd rather give it to anyone else. Like, that's terrible if that text happens, right? And, like, I've gotten that text a million times. And, like, I always think to myself, man, get it. Like, he'll just never get it either. Like, they just won't get it. And meanwhile, like, I'll win, like, you know, a 700K pot, 800K pot, 500K pot off stream or whatever from a VIP, and they'll be like, hey, Nick, I'm happy for you. And, like, that feels amazing, too. Like, that's an amazing feeling when, like, you're able to win a big pot and your opponent, like, is happy for you because you have, like, given them a lot of action and given them the chances to win those big pots that they just let you enjoy your moment and aren't just, like, miserable, you know?
Yeah. It's a tough thing for most people to realize, but that is kind of the secret. And, by the way, 2 things. So one thing, what you're saying is, first of all, the principle of poker, in that you delay, you know, your likely winnings for something bigger in the future, right? That's like the whole point of poker. I'm trying to point the logic that there's already using and say it also applies here. It's also, by the way, the principle of this podcast. The whole reason why I started this. I'm not making any money on this. I'm not making any money. I'm spending a lot of money on this podcast. You know, this is for the passion. I'm trying to make a difference here. Listen up, damn poker players. Try to help you. I'm not spending my money to help you and get Nik Airball on there. Yeah. And the last thing is, well, we didn't really talk about what kind of content you're going to make, but this seems like a really obvious thing to do. Maybe you've already thought of it, to take some guy from 5-5. This is like fantastic content, like turn him into like, you know, a millionaire or whatever, playing poker in like a year. Like that's like kind of the dream.
Maybe I'll do that.
Well, if you do, it's like an obvious thing to document. Like, I mean, is there anything else content-wise you're thinking to make?
I don't know. So, like, when it comes to the content stuff, you know, that truly for me is like a passion project type thing. Like, just like what you're saying, like, not making any money on it. In fact, we've lit a lot of money on fire, like, just like recording and trashing it and just paying an editor and then not using. Like, we've lit so much money on fire, but it's like every dollar feels well spent because I'm enjoying making the content. It's also making fun memories. It's also like a challenging and rewarding thing in a new way. And like, to be honest, we're not really sure like what we want to do. Like we tried podcasts, we've tried shorter stuff, we've tried making like a vlog, like we've tried different things, and like we're gonna continue to experiment. And like, so I don't know what like content I'm gonna be a part of, but I think like creating content and like giving back to like the fans or whatever is fun. And like I just remember that when I was in college and stuff and like watching poker, I was so thirsty for content. Like I was so thirsty to like for the high stakes guys to like give a little bit of like behind the scenes or tell a little bit of interesting stuff or whatever, you know. I was just desperate, and now I feel like I'm in that spot, and like the least I can do it for like the next Nik Airball who's like in college or, you know, whatever, like getting into poker is like I can like provide them with like insights and like entertainment while also like I think adding value and like teaching them how to get to the highest stakes and like doing it the right way.
No, totally. I think so. I think it'd be great if you could do that, and you'd be giving back to the game also and supporting it. I mean, now it's I've been talking about this lately. Poker's kind of becoming like the dream as of lately to play poker for a living. The biggest issue we did talk about is that I mean it'd be really nice if we could get all the people who play slots or whatever and all this stupid shit that they really have no chance at. Be like, why play slots when you can play poker and actually have fun? Hopefully not be surrounded by a bunch of dudes in hoodies. Maybe there could be orchestrated fun games. Well, I mean, I want to do that anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of the dream to like not have a schedule and make a bunch of money playing poker and be able to travel, and like not have to go to college for 4+ years and then like end up in debt if you think about it for these days anyway. And like, yeah, I won't take your job.
There might have been a period like the last few years where the poker dream was kind of like disappearing. Like it maybe was like would have been very hard to like make that much in poker. But I feel like I feel like we're on the verge of another poker boom. Like I really do. Like I feel like the poker is like really picking up steam and like it's becoming a lot more mainstream than it ever has been. I feel like the young content creators out there are getting into poker, and I feel like poker's on the verge of just like kind of like a second boom that's going to be way bigger than the first. And I feel like part of that is like with that comes like the poker dream, and I think like a lot of like people out there are going to like have that dream of running up a big bankroll and living the life they want to live and doing whatever they want to do whenever they want to do and traveling and just playing poker when they want. And like I think that's going to be like a dream that a lot of people are going to have here soon. And I also think it's going to be like achievable for a lot of people because I think poker is going to like have a lot of money coming into it, and I think that's going to be like a lot of opportunity for everyone.
I can tell you it's blowing up worldwide in some places, like apparently in like Vietnam. It was like exploding out of nowhere. But yeah, I mean, there's some signs that it might just blow up. There's quite a few productions underway. I've heard of a few. Let's hope so. Yeah, if the influencers pick it up, this will be really quite an important thing. Speaking of which, oh, by the way, I gave my money to someone who was like on the extreme end, one hand in what we're talking about, where you like don't want to be that guy. Where it's like, why'd you give that money to that guy? I once like got an ace king against like aces against this dude. I forgot his name, but like the whole poker world heard about it. And the 50K, like the first year I played it, the 50K PPC Poker Players Championship, and every single person said after I got an ace king against aces in a no limit hold'em hand for like whatever 250 big blinds, they said, "Wow, man, you're a fucking idiot. How could you do this? Like this is the worst play ever." He 100% had aces. It was unbelievable. I mean, I guess word travels fast. I just don't understand these guys who have this kind of reputation where it's just like, it's just like dude like the total opposite. It's like the episode of what was it, Seinfeld, where George Costanza, he's like failing at everything, and all of a sudden
it's the opposite thing the whole day and like has success with girls and everything. Yes.
Just there's a nit that I was trying to tell on stream to just start bluffing every single hand, just bluff. I don't understand these guys. It's just like it's so obvious how to make money. You can literally just like do any line.
It's so obvious. It's so easy.
Well, in theory, you just have to do it. You have to put money in, put the raise in at any point in time. And it's like, oh shit, he's got a set.
They're all scared of the set.
So I want to talk a little bit about this Robbi situation because you played with Robbi, and you've witnessed the Jack 4 offsuit rush firsthand, and you've seen the hand. I presume you know about the hand, the accused cheating hand on the stream. What are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on whether she actually did it or not? What are your thoughts on like how Garrett handled the situation? I do remember I heard that you had the idea like even if you were in Garrett's situation, you would like privately talk to the person who had handled it. I have a few mixed feelings about this.
So
Um,
in terms of whether or not she cheated, like I've gone back and forth, and I don't know. And to be honest, like at this point, I don't think it matters. Like I think they did an investigation, nothing came back, and so I don't think it's really fair anymore to accuse her of cheating in any way. That being said, like I think if I was in Garrett's shoes, like I would also definitely feel cheated in that moment, like definitely, and be upset. And I think like his initial reaction, while it's not the best, I think it's very understandable and very reasonable, and I don't judge him for it in any way. However, I think like the stuff with like basically pressuring her to take back the money and give back the money and then taking it is like not really okay. I think not escrowing the money there is really bad. Like that game had like Phil Ivey, Eric Person, Andy. Like it had a bunch of like known people in poker that you could just hand the 100K to and know it's safe, or 150K, 135K. And so I think that's like an easy spot to escrow the money. And then I also just think like, I think like Garrett as the big winner on the stream or whatever, and like the crusher, like he kind of owes a little bit. He owes a lot to Nick and Ryan in the HCL production, and so I think like for him to kind of just like blow everything up on Twitter and 2+2 and like not consult them and not like try to work with them in any way is very selfish and like very
I
like
agree.
not cool. And especially like when these people are supposed to be your friends and like their business has made you millions of dollars and turned you into a big star, and then like you're willing to just like cost them a ton of money and like smear their names like just because like you think you got cheated. Like I don't think that works. And like I think that like his I think his doubling and tripling down on it, like even recently, is like not. It's just like bad form. Like you just can't accuse someone of something and then not be able to prove it and then keep accusing them. Like eventually, you just have to like accept it. That like I think it's totally fine if Garrett, in his heart of hearts, always feels cheated. Like if I was in that spot, maybe I do too. But I also think like it's completely out of line and unreasonable to continue to call someone a cheater and say a hand was cheated and accuse someone of something like that when there's been like no proof that's been able to be found. They did an investigation. He's not being able to come forth with any proof, and like everything says she didn't do it except for the fact that it was a weird hand, and I don't think that's like enough justification or even close. I mean, I think you just look at the real world. Like if you told me tomorrow I said Jungleman murdered someone, and then they said okay, like prove it, and I said I can't prove it, but he murdered someone, everyone would be like you're an idiot, right? So it's the same thing here. It's like Garrett saying she cheated, and the whole world said prove it, and everyone tried and no one succeeded. And so at this point, it's like we move on, and that's that. And you know, me personally, like obviously, like my relationship with Garrett has taken a turn for the worse or whatever. And like, while I've had issues with Garrett, like and how he handles poker for a long time, like I never had personal issues with Garrett, and so I was very like disappointed and somewhat hurt when he like randomly tweeted like, Nik Airball is a terrible poker player and a worse human being. This guy, like I don't care about the poker thing, like that's whatever, but I think attacking my character and stuff is pretty low, and like he doesn't know me, and it's also like to me very telling that like when he does this, like infinite people who know me in poker stand up and tweet like, no, Nick's a good guy, and like no one is there backing up Garrett except for like a few people who he like used to stake or whatever and like has like a financial relationship with are the only ones backing him up. And like I don't know, I just think it's telling. And so to me, like I both now dislike Garrett, obviously. I still like have some admiration for him as he's like a lot of the reason I got into poker. And then I also just like feel pretty sorry for him because I don't really see how he has a future in poker, and like like I think he like feels like a lot of frustration with that, and like a lot of like I think he really cares about the narrative and the people and everything, and like the narrative is just like not that great anymore, and he's not able to control it anymore, and people like me are just like willing to speak up, and like that kind of sucks for him, and like he hasn't been able to control everything the way he wants. And so I feel bad for him in that sense, but at this point like I have no real interest in like going back and forth with him on Twitter or like on podcasts or anything. Like I don't really want to like suffer any more personal attacks from him, and I am going to continue to try not to personally attack him because I don't think that's healthy for my mental state either. And so like what I'm hoping for in terms of like my relationship with Garrett and stuff moving forward is just like nothing. Like I have no interest in a relationship with him. I have no interest in talking to him or about him. And like, yeah, if someone asks me, like I'm going to answer because like I don't mind answering honestly. But at the same time, like I'm not proactively bringing his name up. Like, and I'm not like proactively going to talk shit about him on Twitter. Like even yesterday when this whole like debacle on Twitter happened with Berkey, he tweeted something and I just like he tweeted something about how like, I don't understand reality, and I just thought to myself, it's so funny. Like you're accusing someone of cheating with no proof, and you think I don't understand reality. Like, but I'm just trying not to like get involved and get frustrated, and like so for now, like yeah, that's my stance, and I wish him the best with his like family and his wife and his new baby, and maybe in the future like our relationship can be repaired and like we'll see things differently. But for now, like I really don't have that much interest in having a relationship with Garrett, and I think very little of him.
That was a pretty diplomatic answer considering what I've seen on Doug's podcast, to be fair. I mean, it's also a very fair answer. I was expecting a little bit more shots fired. That being said, I happen to be more on the like, I prefer things to be on the fair side for the most part. Speaking of which, I want to talk about like what's fair in this whole situation because I have a number of thoughts. I've seesawed back and forth myself, and I do think Garrett's actions, as you said, have not been very considerate about the show because always when these like complicated situations arise where it's not really clear what happened, it is really easy to make various slights against when there's multiple parties involved. It's easy to make various slights against other parties as well, which is one thing it seems like clearly he hasn't considered too much. And I do think, as you said, he cares too much about the narrative. Whereas, like when you're looking at things more in the sense of like what's actually like the best EV decision to do, like clearly he should just shut up, in my opinion, and do nothing if he's not going to actually like come and play or whatever it is. I think he should come play, frankly, for all kinds of reasons. I think he should come play on the stream. I'm going to get to a number of reasons why. But yeah, like if I was him, I don't think I'd give the money back for sure, personally. I mean, you disagree?
If I were him, I like to think I never would have taken the money in the first place. I would have escrowed it immediately, and it would have already been
Oh,
out of my.
yeah, that's probably more fair. I might like escrow it. Maybe what's more fair is to escrow it and like have like a few people arbitrate it, but have like
Yeah,
potential cuts given back and that kind of thing. I think it's very strange that she did give it back so fast, and her story doesn't add up a whole lot. I think that I think that when it came out that she was innocent, I was like heavily weighted towards the side that she had done something, particularly because of one particular fact of that she knew this guy. I think his name was Brian, and she was following her on Twitter, lied about it, and this guy took almost precisely 10% of her stack. All of that is like wild, like out of control outlier for me that makes no goddamn sense otherwise. I just don't see why that can be the case. And I at first thought that I felt like, oh, this I don't know about this. But then, I played with her a bit more. And also, I mean, she does play a bit more erratically than I expected. So there's that. And then, you know, at some point, I got to thinking the situation is a little bit more complicated than it seems, and like she's not like a top pro or anything. So there's that, and then all of a sudden, like out of hilarity, this whole Jack 4 offsuit is now played all the time, and now like wins all the hands and all of that, and there's like all ins with it, and there's a bounty on it. So if she did cheat, now she's reminded of it the whole time. Now it's this hilarious moment. And if she didn't cheat, it's still funny either way. And now
yeah,
Jack 4 offsuit's in the mix, and I'm just
yeah.
like laughing. And like, this is pretty funny actually. I don't know really what's happened, but either way, it's funny. and,
I
and
agree.
she wins the award. And then, again, like it's, not looking at it one way or the other. If she did cheat, it's a very funny situation if she won the award. If she didn't, I mean, I guess it's well deserved, right? Um, and yeah, I'm just thinking like, why doesn't this guy just come play? Like, I'm thinking if she didn't cheat, she's gonna keep making plays like this, right? Just play her. Is she a top pro? Like, if she was a top pro, then I think the situation would be very different, right? Because then like I understand completely when like top pros cheat, they're going to cheat very smartly and they're going to steal a lot of money, right? But that's not the case here.
I
And
mean,
so,
like a
huh?
it's kind of like a chicken and the egg situation a little bit where it's like if she cheated like it would take a level of sophistication to like ingratiate herself with whoever helped her, Brian or whatever, and like come up with a way to do it and whatever. It took a level of sophistication, but at the same time it really doesn't seem like if someone was sophisticated enough to come up with a way to cheat at the live stream, they would then choose to cheat with Jack 4. You know, like
That's true.
there's a million better ways to cheat, like than Jack 4, and it's like it's just like the dumbest way ever. So that's like a little bit to me like chicken and the egg a little bit, and like same
Yeah.
thing with, like the money, like that you said, like yeah, I felt the same way. Like when Ryan took like the 15K or whatever, I was like, huh, 10%, like that's what it seems like to me. But then I'm like, at the same time, there's a $250,000 bounty for information, and this guy like won't come forward, and like
That is strange. Yeah.
and like that money like would change everything for him, and like I think for sure he would, if he had information, he would come forward. So then I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like it's just like everything. Like,
He's gonna get it. Like he's gonna out them and then like get like a death threat or whatever it is. But he'll get like the Perkins will ship. Hey, here, bro. Here's your 550, 200K or whatever it is. And then Rob will be like, "Oh, bro, here you go. You cheat. Yeah, good job. Good job." He like, is that what's gonna happen? I really kind of hope that happens. If that's what's like. I mean, it's also super risky if he does do that. I mean, it is very strange. So there's that. I don't really feel that sorry for Garrett actually, because he actually got the money back. First of all, which like I guess the Jack 4 offsuit could lose, right? Like he could still lose. Like he actually like made money on the situation. In addition, I mean, I was hearing the podcast, and I had no idea that he had these like kind of underlying selfish motives in games. Like I was quite surprised to hear that, because I've met and played with him. He seems like a really nice guy. I still think, by the way, he's a really nice guy. But you know, through this, you don't think so? You gave like a little expression.
No, but I also like I don't really want to like talk too much about like my personal opinions on Garrett and like my thoughts on his character. I think it's irrelevant at this point, and I just don't want to get dirty with him.
Okay, but it feels to me like, you know, even if something shady was going on, it's still like exposing, you know, kind of a shady sort of behavior, like kind of a penalty on a shady sort of behavior that's that apparently he's been doing all along. So it's like, oh, well, there's also, you know, it's like one of these situations where, you know, both sides have done something a little bit wrong, or at least it appears that way for me. And so I'm sitting there thinking, maybe, you know, this whole like what's fair thing is a little bit more complicated, and it doesn't need like a black and white solution all the time. And I've like started actually to feel a little bit of empathy for Robbi for a couple of reasons, which I really didn't expect. So, yeah. What else? Do you have anything else to say?
No, I mean, like I think while the hand was like dramatic and it caused a lot of negative stuff for me and my friends, and like emotions were like high and it was like a witch hunt, I also think like probably like a net positive for like streams. Like it increased stream security, and like it's also like, you know, it's grown the game. And so at this point, to me, it's like I think it's all just whatever. And I also just think I agree with you. Like the whole fact that now people just light it on fire with Jack 4 is my favorite thing ever. And like I'm doing it every time. I just can't help myself. It's just like too funny, you know. It's too funny. Like I have no interest in the 7 Deuce game. I have all the interest in the Jack 4 game, you know. And like I can't express passionately enough how much I love the Jack 4 and how desperate I am to win big pots with it.
I played a hand the other day where it's like there's like a bet, a call, a call. I don't know if you saw this hand. It was 5100. I like check raise with Jack 4, and the flop was 9-8-7 with 2 hearts. I like was almost putting one of the players all in, and I just thought she was gonna fold or whatever. But just like I check raised into like 3 players on 9-8-7 with 2 clubs, and the next guy, Bill Klein, the next guy over has Queen Jack offsuit and calls me. I put like a buy-in in. He's like, "Oh, I thought you had Jack 4 offsuit." I'm like, "God damn it!" And then the other person goes all in, and Matt Berkey is the only one who folds of all people. This is a bizarre side effect of this hand. Like now, I've like somehow completely dusted with this stupid hand in this spot.
Me too.
You too?
Yeah.
What's your Jack 4?
I mean, I punted with it. I've also like what I try to do with the Jack 4 is I try to play it how it should be played. So I try to min raise and I try to call. Like I try to get a min raise in and then I try to call the end. And so I've played several Jack 4s where like I min raised turn, got called in the river. Like I checked and like they bet, and then I decided to go for the hero call with Jack high and just like ran into top boat every time. And like I really try my hardest to play it how it's supposed to be played, which is like you check min raise and then you call. And like I'm a big believer in like doing it the justice it deserves in the right line, which is check min raise, call jam.
All right. Well, I haven't been that brave, but that probably gives me bad ideas. I mean, if you do it, you clearly have to show it. There should be a bounty on doing like the trifecta. I'll give
agree.
like $1,000 for someone who pulls off the trifecta as like a bluff on stream. I don't know, like if it could go higher. I mean, I could give like a little bit more, but there should be like a collective bounty on this because I've never seen it. Period. Maybe if it even happens, period is 1,000. It's like 5,000 if it's like a bluff because it's very hard to pull off the trifecta. If it's with the Blobby, if it's with the Robbi, $10,000.
That's amazing.
You might actually win the bounty, but it would be, huh?
I think I'll win it.
This reminds me of another story when for the first one drop, there was a player. What was his name? There was a player. There's some kind of businessman who was doing business with the. His name was Tom. He was, I think, he was a sports bettor. I forgot his last name, but he played in the one drop, and apparently the Chinese gave him a free roll of like $100,000 if he just went all in blind for the first hand on the one drop.
That's amazing.
He didn't do it. I don't know if it was $100,000 or if it was $10,000, but I know that he did not do it. And
I would probably do that. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, I guess the poker world works in strange ways, but yeah, if the cheaters, they cheat a little bit, but you know they give back to the game and give the money back to
whoever they cheat.
It's not really cheating, yeah. And I want to repeat a fun fact that I learned recently. Well, I mean, I won't repeat it just because I just realized it's not necessarily appropriate, but whatever. And any last words for anything else you want to talk about, or any last words for Berkey or Garrett that you want to share?
Nothing left for Berkey or Garrett. For Berkey, like, talking's done. I'm going to him up this weekend. I'm going to put him, like, I'm going to put my foot on his neck and I'm going to press down, and I'm not going to take it off until he's lost $1 million and has to quit. And that's my plan.
All right. Well, I think it'll be a minute because for sure this guy, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing like his neck ups. There's like an exercise where you can like, you can do the neck ups to get like the good old, the strong neck muscle.
True.
We'll see. I know. All right. Yeah, we'll see if he's been doing his neck ups or whatever it is. Or maybe he's got to like do like the shrugs or something. So he's got, it probably strengthens his neck a little bit. So you might get a lot of money out before he gives up.
That's the goal.
All right. Well, great having you on, Nick. Best of luck for your content, and I'm happy to promote it and all that. Hope you make another millionaire or whatever, and also pull off the trifecta or play the Robbi as it's played.
Thanks, Jungle. Good to see you, and I can't wait till you're back in LA.